Hi guys, this is Max here, back again with a brand new video, and today we're going to take a little look at the United States Senate elections in 2022. Now, here is the map. I filled out all the states that are going to be safe, and under safe, I categorize every state that's going to be won by either party by more than 15 percentage points. Excuse me. Now, all the states that will be within that margin are colored in the toss-up color. And as right now, I believe most states would fall under that category. Not most, but 13 of which. And we're going to go from the west coast to the east coast. Now, first of all, Alaska, I marked it as safe, not because I believe that necessarily there will be a 15% margin for either candidate, but because it's going to be a runner-up between Lisa Murkowski and another Republican, it's going to stay in Republican hands 100%. Now, the state of Oregon, though, will be a little more interesting. I would categorize it as likely. Patty Murray did not have any major scandals, but Washington did have a history of being somewhat competitive in the past during Senate elections. I just have to look up the 2010 map. If we look at the Senate map or at the Senate big board, you could see that Washington was amongst the closest states. You can see it on the toss-up list. And Washington was within 4 percentage points in 2010, which was like a plus 10, plus 13 Republican wave year. And this time around, we're expecting a plus 10, plus 7 Republican wave year. So it'd be reasonable to say that Washington will be a bit closer, though I do not see it as a flip yet. In Nevada, Adam Laxalt is running for Senate against the incumbent Catherine Cortez Masto. She has served one term so far, I believe, so does not have that much name recognition. And Adam Laxalt came pretty close towards winning the governorship, I believe, or the attorney general race. I believe he ran in either of those two things. He ran there in 2018, and he almost won, even though it was like a plus 9 Democratic wave year. And he still almost eked out a victory in Nevada, where an incumbent Republican senator lost by 5%. So he's going to run ahead of the national environment, and he's probably going to win. Now, going to Arizona, I've looked through the polling, I've looked through the candidates. It's probably going to be Jim Lehman, a solar engineer technician, a guy who doesn't even have his own internet platform. And while a generic Republican was consistently polling ahead of Mark Kelly, it does very much look like that Mark Kelly is probably going to go up against a candidate who is fairly little known and who doesn't have that much name recognition. And even though Mark Kelly was only there for 2 years, it does help swinging voters right at the ballot box. And yet, the campaigns have to be run, Republicans have to present their formal nominee, but as right now, I believe Mark Kelly would still be favored to win that race very narrowly. Very narrowly, but I do not see anything. Now, Colorado, there hasn't also not been any strong challenger in Colorado from the Republican side. However, since this is going to be a red wave here, I'd imagine that Colorado goes back towards being a lean Democrat state rather than being in the likely or safe column. There's a chance Republicans win it, however, I would be surprised. In Illinois, no matter how much I would wish to see Tammy Duckworth gone, she's one of the most divisive senators, especially on racial issues. She has been hardcore, said that she will not support any further Biden nominees if he does make more Asian American picks. Very, very, very borderline to racial segregation. Nonetheless, lack of Republican challengers, I wouldn't say she's going to win. In Wisconsin, though, Ron Johnson is pretty safe. I'd put it as lean, might even be likely. He's running against a lieutenant governor was elected with a governor by a very slight margin in a heavy blue wave year. The Democrat governor of Wisconsin probably will lose. However, the margin will still probably be within 5% for the Senate race. Might be more than that. However, for now, I'm gonna assume it'll be lean. It could be likely though. I do not see how Ron Johnson would ever lose that race. He has a lot of turnout from the Republican base, while the Democrat candidate is not really as well known as Ron Johnson. Now, going to Ohio, I believe J.D. Vance is a really strong candidate for the working class. I believe Tim Ryan is also the best candidate the Democrats could have picked out. Otherwise, this would have been a safe race. However, I do not think that Tim Ryan has any real shot at winning. It was the right decision to run, though, because Republicans basically gerrymandered out his district. Now, going to Pennsylvania, I used to think that John Fetterman pretty much was on the way to win this. However, this guy has been in the hospital for a while now, and trying to print that image of him as a big, strong fella when he's away most of the time really doesn't work out so well. And even though it is a midterm election year post Donald Trump, I have a hard time believing that many of these working class counties in western Pennsylvania will go back to the Democrats in order to vote for John Fetterman. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying this is going to be a complete toss up, but in the end, Dr. Oz's name recognition and popularity will probably carry him across the finish line. He'll do better in the suburbs, which is going to be the ultimate thing that gets him to win the Pennsylvania Senate race, presumably. I've been going back and forth in Pennsylvania. It's really become the biggest swing state of the country. It used to be like Ohio or Florida, but nowadays I'd say the biggest, most important swing state that oftentimes determines how election goes is Pennsylvania. Now, going to other states like North Carolina, I think North Carolina is going to be. I think it's going to be lean Republican. I think Ted Buds is not going to have too much issues winning. I actually think it's going to be likely because he's not running against any strong Democratic candidates. The woman who's running against him is officially a Supreme Court justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court. She's not been in politics for a very long time. She's not doing well in terms of fundraising. She's a pretty big no-name. You can basically scratch her off. In Georgia, I believe Herschel Walker's going to win by more than 2 percentage points. He is a former college football player, and especially in the South, college football is king. So he's helped by that, but he's also helped by the fact that Raphael Warnock is not the most unpopular incumbent, but he is also not a very well-gifted politician. And he lucked out in 2021 in that runoff election, but I do not think this is going to happen again. And I do think that the Republican Herschel Walker will be the next senator from that state. In Florida, Marco Rubio is going to win by a likely margin simply because he always does pretty well. He also does well with Hispanic voters, which is very important in Florida. And Charlie Crist is running for governor. Val Demings, who's running for Senate, is very divisive. Does not really have good outreach to moderate voters. Is just a hand-picked Democratic megaphone that echoes everything Nancy Pelosi says. And believe it or not, that woman who might go down as one of the most insignificant actors in American politics, along with so many other names, Val Demings was seriously considered for vice president by Joe Biden, just so you know. But, yeah, that's possible. Now, next on the list, the state of Connecticut. I only have it there because I do believe that the governor's election with Ned Lamont will be pretty close. Just for the record, I live in California, and I saw a Ned Lamont ad today. Really don't know why. Anyway, I do believe Connecticut will be close, but just like Washington, I do not see any real potential of flipping it. I just think that it will be more close than in a general election cycle due to the national environment being more Republican, so you probably will see the state be a little bit closer than it usually is. And in New Hampshire, this is another hard one. New Hampshire and Arizona would have been likely Republican in both cases if Chris Sununu and Doug Ducey would have run for governor. However, Doug Ducey's career was shot down by Donald Trump over his fraudulent election claims, and Chris Sununu in New Hampshire just decided to not run so he could keep being the governor. Now, both of that is fine. However, in the end, it was a pretty bad decision for the Republicans in New Hampshire because it will be much harder to win. Much harder with some random-ass dude compared to the incumbent governor. And I must say, even though Maggie Hassan is not popular, I've not seen a single poll in which she led any Republican except for Doug Ducey. And, except for Chris Sununu. And in the current situation, I'd say New Hampshire is still a tilt Democratic state. But that's just as of right now. It could still go either way. I am still not very decided on how this is going to go. But I do think that as right now, this is the Senate map. There are going to be 3 states that are going to be incredibly close. Arizona, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire. They're going to be incredibly close on election night. and those three could really go either way, but I still see the Republicans as favored, though not heavily favored to win the Senate. I do think they're heavily favored to win the House, but the Senate is a different case because every single year there's a different Senate map and there's a different setup for the US Senate. Now, I hope so far you liked this video, though. If you did, please leave a subscription or a like down below. It's greatly appreciated, just like always, and I hope that you guys are going to have a very nice and fine day, and see you guys next time. Goodbye.